Hey everybody, this is Kenji from Riichi Mahjong Central. Just landed in Seattle. So last week was the Greater Cincinnati Riichi Open. If you haven't looked at the video, click there or here, whichever it was. But yeah, we're here in Seattle this week for the 2020 Seattle Riichi Open. Yeah, same thing as usual. I'm gonna check the venue out, going to participate this time as a player as well. Didn't do so well in the Cincinnati one, but we'll see what happens here in Seattle. See you in a bit. Good morning. We're here for the... Yep.
Other whatnot, but I'm glad we have 20 participants here. Six of you are traveling from parts elsewhere, so thank you for coming. Our first person away is Claire, who's come over here all the way from New York.
Let me clap for New York, guys. I know you're on the West Coast.
So as stated, it's going to be an 8 rounds for qualifying.
I'm so tired.
Alright, congrats Rachel again on the win.
Thank you.
What was your mentality going into, let's say, the finals before the 200?
Finals, I was really hyper,
Yeah.
which was weird, but I was really pumped and excited.
At what point did you feel secure about your win?
East 4-4 in Pontron number 2.
Number 2. Okay, got it. So we do have Charlie here as well.
That was a really good round.
Okay, Rachel might be a little modest in her comments, but that's just Charlie.
Hey, she destroyed us.
Okay.
We definitely all rely on like you go into it going, let's try and take down the first player. Then the first player runs away with it again.
Got it. So Charlie is the inaugural Seattle champ.
2018.
Yep. And
2017, 2018, 2020.
yep. So
Even
repeating.
year, 2 even years.
2-time champ.
Yeah. 2P.
Representing PML. Any last words, comments, shoutouts?
No.
Okay. What are you gonna do next since you won?
I might take a nap.
Okay.
But I know that I'm going to be here for SoccerCon in around Easter time, so that'll be fun. I get to see all my friends up here again.
All right. Congrats again.
Thank you.
It's the partnership of Master Riichi and Trinitara.
Whoa!
I don't have to get with me, but since I have your email addresses, I'll be giving you this small envelope.
Yay! Okay, Edwin, お疲れ様です. What was your final impressions of the event as the director?
I think it went all right. You know, it's whenever I run a tournament, because of the system that I try to run to try to make it more quote unquote fair to everybody playing. It's still a work in progress. Our online pairing software still needs a little bit of tweaking, and I need to get some help on that because I'm not necessarily technologically handy. But on the overall, I think it went pretty well. I do wish there was a little bit more people, but it was a little bit of short notice, so I understand.
Okay. So I noticed you tried to pair as many people as possible, like, you know, not pairing up with someone that you already played multiple times. And then there was a method that you looked up online. What was that method called?
So a lot of it, because of the fact that like my personal pairing method doesn't work with smaller fields, there's a similar problem. I think it's called the social golfer problem, where they try to take an X number of players into foursomes and try to create different foursomes on every single day. And so unfortunately with 20 players, they said that you can only go 5 rounds before you start having problems pairing people together. You'd think that if you're facing 19 different opponents, well, 6 times 3 is 18 different for 6 rounds. You think, oh, well, you should be able to do that, right? Well, you can't. So in this particular case, what I did was I used some existing wheel method where you put groups of people in groups of 5 and then just rotated everybody around. So you got to play the other 15 people in the other 3 groups. But then for the 6th round, I made it such that you would play somebody within your wheel and then a pair from somebody else's wheel. So you still play, those people would play, you know, somebody would play duplicate person twice. And then because it was 5 groups of 4, there'd be 1 person from each group that would play each other. So you'd still end up with either playing 2 people that you've already played with or 3 people you've already played with, but it evened out really.
So until you find the final solution, this is probably the way to go for the time being.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, my modified Swiss doesn't really work with smaller fields. Because you try not to pair everybody against each other twice, which is what you're trying to do in tournaments anyways. But you're trying to do it in a way where, at least in my system, where you're putting everybody in quartiles, or eventually near the end, where you have 2 people above the cut, 2 people below the cut, so there's extra tension involved. You know, the worst case scenario, well, not really the worst case scenario, but the edge case scenario happened in this particular case in this tournament, where the top 8 were facing each other, and because the 9th place person would face people below them and were out of that top 8, they ended up scoring a lot of points and went from 9th to actually 3rd. That can happen, and it's not like it could be, you know, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. It is a thing. And so I think it's just up to people to decide whether or not that really works for them or not.
All right, so Seattle Riichi Mahjong Group, where can we find you if there's any visitors out of town? Where, when?
So the easiest thing is from our meetup group. That's where we have our RSVPs, so we know who's coming. Our main meetups are on Mondays at the Microsoft campus. It's just easier if you join our group and RSVPs to figure out where it is, because the campus is big. Otherwise, if you're somebody who's like learning or wants to play more casual Mahjong, currently we have meetups on Thursdays at the Mock Sporting House and Saturdays at Seattle University. I do not know how long I'll be running those because I'm running all 3 of them currently, but for now that's what it is.
All right, last but not least, any shout outs, any last mentions, comments?
I mean, just a lot of it is thanks to the members that helped me out with the tournament. I think the biggest thing is, if you're watching this and you're a member of a club, is that, you know, you may have an organizer who does stuff, but I think it's better off for everybody if you maybe perhaps know where you came from, if you're a beginner, to help teach the other beginners. If you know, see how hard your organizers are working, make sure to lend them a hand and things like that, because it's I won't want to say that I'm like that I'm complaining or anything, but it is a lot of hard work, and I think it takes a lot of people to make things as successful as they could be.
Sure. Okay, all right, Edwin, thank you so much. Until the next event, see ya.
Thank you.
All right, Shane, I hear that you're the mastermind behind the awesome streaming rig. How did you come up with that idea?
Yeah, so I think I was watching some of the pro matches, and usually how those work is that you see one hand at a time and it goes around. And I was thinking to myself, well, this is good, but it's kind of hard to keep track of the game, because I need to like keep in mind who has what, and then it comes back around, it's like, oh yeah, that person had that hand. So I wanted to try to see if I can do something that would allow that so you can see all the hands at the same time. I don't know if it's maybe because like PML and like people came up with a similar idea at a similar time, I think. But I also noticed like, hey, if I have the hands sort of tilted and I come up from that angle like they have on the JPML streams, I can maybe tilt them so they can have them in each corner, and then you can have the center in the center of the screen, and so you can see a hand reach out, grab, discard, and you can just follow each quadrant of the stream as people play. So I prototyped it seemed to work out, and then I finally built a bunch of stuff together and it seemed to work out. Yeah.
Okay, so if you don't mind us asking, what consists of the rig? What's included in the rig?
So one of the issues I had that helped really shape how the rig had to come together, the issue I had early on was that if you plug in 5 different webcams into a computer, it just can't do it. I did a bunch of research, and I guess like the actual bandwidth of a USB 2.0 controller like can't handle 5 webcams. So I had to figure out some workaround. And so what I ended up doing was that I bought Raspberry Pis, and then I connected 2 webcams to Raspberry Pis. So 2 webcams in this Raspberry Pi and 2 webcams into this Raspberry Pi. And then those Raspberry Pis act as webcam servers. So then I can just connect them to a little local network and just open up the streams like a webcam. And that actually works out in terms of like bandwidth wise. So I can connect all those 4 to a PC, as well as just the center camera pointing down at all the discards. That's just a normal USB camera. Yeah.
So if someone wants to replicate your rig, is it okay to have them contact you, or is this a patent pending kind of thing? Or
Yeah, go ahead and let me know. There's a little bit of configuration of the Raspberry Pis in terms of making them into a web server, because there was a few different software options we looked at. It's like, no, we use this Linux plugin or that Linux plugin. We finally, I think Blaze actually did most of the work, so I have to like talk with him. But we figured out the one that would work the best, and we got that up and running. So that's probably the only tricky part. The rest is just like, USB webcams, any kind of webcam you'd like, that'll work for you. Plug them into Raspberry Pis, plug them all together. Anyone can probably figure that much out. So yeah, go ahead and give it a shot.
all right. Lastly, I heard that there's a 2.0 in the works.
Yeah.
What are some of the features, if you can share them?
So I'll debut all of it when I get a chance. But the main thing is that I want to have 9 cameras. So I want to have the 4 cameras looking at people's hands, but also cameras looking at people's bodies and faces and reactions as they do different stages of the game. I think that'll have a lot more drama to the game, seeing people go when something bad happens, or when something good happens. All that jazz plays real good for an audience. It's fun to watch. Yeah, I think that'll be the interesting part. I just need to do a lot more technical work to be able to handle even more cameras. Get a good old PC set up to do that custom build thing, and it'll take a little while. But once that's done, it should be super cool. And the one thing I was telling you earlier is that it will involve mirrors to make it look interesting. So look forward to that.
All right. Any last shout outs, mentions, comments?
All the videos that we had at this tournament, as well as videos that I've taken with the rig in prior events, like SRMC Mahjong Room, and also for the upcoming SRMC Mahjong Room, and also for the upcoming quarter 4 finals for our league. All that goes up on the YouTube channel. So do all the normal YouTube stuff, like all the videos you watch, subscribe, all that stuff. It'll be good.
That's actually cheated.
That is. Wait, at
What
least
happened?
fill in the gap. At least make it look like
Did you know what he did?
Yeah.
He took the thing from his discard, put it in there. I missed it.
Oh my god.
How was it? What did
How
you
did I even